Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Do we have any public comment here? I see all no's. Okay. Number one.
All right, Kathy, come on up. So as a matter of introduction, again, Kathy Trader, who's here as our senior finance and accounting specialist, so she's still in tonight.
My first time.
All right,
Thank you for coming.
ask her the tough questions.
Okay, so tonight we have an action item to acknowledge the receipt of the audited financial statements for fiscal year. And, sorry here. Acknowledgement of receipt of audited financial statements FY 2017. And I'm not sure who does the draft motion, but do you want me to read it?
We'll take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take care of that for you.
So this is, you've heard Julie's report, and you now have a copy of the document. We have also submitted the document to the state according to the timelines and the rules and so on. So there's just kind of one final step.
So does anybody have any questions for our staff about how the audit went?
It came out clean, so I'm
Yeah.
happy with it.
So were you happy with the work that they did?
Very happy.
Very good.
Very smooth. And at that time, Karen Syke was in the process of retiring, and she kind of stepped back and let us do a lot of it.
Oh, good. Very good. So could I have a motion? Good.
I move to acknowledge receipt of the fiscal year 2017 comprehensive annual financial report ending June 30th, 2017.
Second.
Karen?
Commissioner Blanes?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yep.
Commissioner Soa? Passes unanimously.
Comprehensive annual financial report for 2017. We have the audit opinion December 29th, 2017. We filed the audit with Secretary of State Audits Division December 29th, 2017. Continued disclosure for bonds published December 29th, 2017. Submitted CAPR to Government Finance Officers Association for Excellence in Financial Reporting January 4th, 2018.
So obviously, if you have questions,
That
as you.
is this document.
That's this, I know, I'm
You
sorry.
know,
I
if
meant
we get-
to-
if we could just get these a little before the meeting, we know what was going
I
on.
know. We
It's
we
tough
did-
not knowing.
We've provided you with the link to the document in the packet, but unfortunately, we didn't have the printed copies until just yesterday, so. Anyway, so this is the document. Obviously, as things progress throughout the year, if there's questions, please contact us. So, that's it.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 2.
Joe, will have you come up. So a long time CIP project. We're gonna ask you to, well, move forward and build it. So, Joe.
Good evening, Commissioners. I don't have a lot to add to what I wrote in the agenda packet item. Suffice it to say that we had 9 bids to the Curtis Court capital project. As Todd mentioned, this has been on the books in our capital improvement program for some time. This is budgeted for this current biennium. We had a good response. The low bid was lower than our estimate, and the bid items, if you have studied the bid tally, the values of the unit prices bid by the low bidder are lower on all bid items, not just, there's no unbalancing of the bid or strange anomalies that would not compare to the other bidders. It just seems to be incrementally smaller on all of the items. Nutter Corporation is a well-respected and local company, and we are pleased that they're going to be doing a job for us. So questions, I'll deal with those right now.
Just a question, there's a lot of projects going on and more coming on as time goes on because of the backbone project. How many inspectors do we, obviously we have to contract out to get a full staff of inspectors.
We have one full-time inspector and an inspector trainee. The trainee has been working with our inspector for a number of months now. HR put together a program with that in order to bring up a waterworks mechanic into that role. He's taken to it quite well. He's a very smart person. We hope that he will continue in that role. His probationary period is coming up fairly shortly. I don't know what the timeline is for that. To be direct to your question about how do we cover these projects, particularly the backbone projects and what our current CLD requirements are. We also have private development work that needs our oversight, at least our quality control oversight. We certainly aren't running those projects, but it does take our inspectors' time. Of note, current projects are the Abernathy Landing subdivision, which is currently under construction, and that's where our inspectors are spending their time over the last few weeks. Next week, we'll kick off the Bradley Road project, which is in close proximity to the Abernathy Landing subdivision. Fortunately, this Curtis Court is also in proximity. It's not the other side of the district. It's close. So our intent is to have our trainee cut his teeth on this project with the support of our full-time inspector who will be John Bradley and Abernathy. So when we look at our schedule, and we have had scheduling meetings internally with all the engineering staff, including the inspectors, we've laid it out so that, or the schedule's laid out. I don't want to take the credit for the scheduling, but the projects that we have coming on board seem to coincide with the completion of one project before another one starts. So at this point in time, we don't believe we need to contract another inspector. If we get a lot more private pressure that we have to then oversee, that might be an option that we want to look at.
Very good. Sounds good, thank you. I just didn't want to see something like happened across the river when the county and the contractor had so much of a clash. The inspector over there did seem to do the job very well.
Which job was that?
Oh, on the other side, when they were doing the bridge.
Oh, the Carver.
Yeah, the
Bridge.
Carver Bridge. Yeah, there was a lot of conflict over there.
So,
And it cost us.
so the Carver Bridge will be going here fairly soon.
I can speak to that, if this is
Please,
the correct
yes.
venue. That project is currently out to bid. We will open bids on the 30th, and we'll bring it before you for award, hopefully on the 6th, the regular meeting on the 6th, to award that project.
Of February.
Up there.
Okay, thank you.
Very good, thank you.
We had a consultant do that work, the design work, and they're also contracted to do the inspection work
For the whole project, or just the bridge part?
for the whole project.
Okay.
Yeah. We still have oversight of that individual or that part of the work. We also oversee pressure testing and chlorination, bacterial testing, and those kinds of things. We still participate in that. We do have, we haven't made it a contract requirement, but we believe that the permits which are being applied for or have been applied for will require some of that work to be done at night. So having an inspector trying to work a subdivision and then hardship. It's just not gonna work. So that's why, one of the reasons we have our consultant providing the service.
Did Jacobson say when he might want to mow in on this? When did Jacobson think that he was going to mow in on Curtis Court?
I haven't asked them
Okay.
specifically.
So you still need to,
Yeah, we need a motion.
yeah.
Yep, we need a motion.
Okay. I move to award the South Curtis Court water line construction contract to Nutter Corporation for the bid amount of 191,010.22 and authorize the general manager to sign the completed contract.
Second.
Karen?
Commissioner Blanes?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani?
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil?
Aye.
Commissioner Soa?
Aye.
Pass. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
All right, so another significant milestone with our backbone project is the 152nd Reservoir, so we'll have Adam Bjornstead, project manager for that. And she will have the opportunity to move forward. Take it away.
Questions or comments, it says. If I could, I'm going to add something to what Joe just said to help answer the question. Thanks for all that Joe spoke through to all those issues. One other piece of, and you kind of hit on this with the Carver project, but we do have a number of other projects in the backbone. This is one of them, 152nd. The Redland Reservoir is a second, and the third is a Hatton Pump Station. All of those are being designed by consultants who we intend, if everything works out favorably, to have them serve in a construction management inspection role as well. So that would be a great help in those.
And then we just have the oversight rule.
Correct. Correct. We still have oversight, just as Joe explained on the Carver project. So 152nd. Happy to be here tonight. It's been a busy, long road, and we're at the point where we've put the project out to final design, did it in November, and early December. We did a pre-qualification process with some of the specialty sub-disciplines on this project, notably the utility work, the excavation and earthwork, the reservoir work specifically, and all those processes went very well. Good response in those areas, and then when it came time to open bids on the 19th of December, we received 4 bids, all more or less right within the expected range. The engineer's estimate on the final design was between 12 and 12.5 and 14 million, so 13 million plus minus was the estimate. And again, 4 bids, and the parent low bidder was Rachi Inc. Their bid was just over 11 million, so significantly less than the estimate. However, as we reviewed Rachi's qualifications, they have a number of highly successful reservoir projects, and including Rachi is a general contractor, but their subcontractor, SCAR, is a reputable tank builder in the region, in the area, who probably over the last 10 to 15 years has really kind of come to the fore in concrete pre-stress tanks. So the team of Rachi and SCAR as a tank builder, I'm very excited to consider them for award. One thing I'll mention is that Murray Smith, our design engineers, worked very closely with Rachi on the West Lynn Bolton Reservoir that was just completed last year, and that project went very well. We've heard from West Lynn staff that project was highly successful within budget, and it was a very similar setting to the 152nd.
It's constrained by 152nd.
Very tight site,
It is.
Neighborhoods, school right down the road, and things went very well.
A lot of houses close by.
Correct. Yep. So,
Where's Rachi?
Rachi's out of Battleground, Vancouver area.
Is it?
Vancouver.
Okay, north of here, yeah.
If there are any questions, anything specific, I did, I explained, as Joe mentioned in his write-up, I tried to do the same thing in mine. Lots of information in there,
So do you think these same bidders will be bidding on Redland Reservoir?
we may
Or is
see.
it a different kind of?
It's a different type of tank, it's a
Yeah.
welded steel tank, so we may see a general contractor, like in the case of Rachi, Moore Excavation and Emery and Sons were three bidders on 152nd that are specifically a general contractor, so they subcontracted
Steel.
a concrete tank builder. So they could presumably bid on Redland as well. Ward Henshaw was the fourth bidder that is a tank contractor, and they bid as a prime.
Oh,
So there's a chance we could see similar folks on Redland.
well, the prices are encouraging,
They are, yeah. Definitely.
being that the 157 tank is a major chunk of the bond.
Yep. Absolutely.
Would somebody like to venture a motion?
I move to award the 152nd Avenue Reservoir construction project or contract to Rachi
Rachi?
Incorporated for the bid amount of 11357,914.20 and authorize the general manager to sign the completed contract.
Well, one number off.
Yes, we were
11356.
Which one?
Yeah, so it's 11,356,914.20. So noted. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks. Karen?
Commissioner Blanes?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani?
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil?
Aye.
Commissioner Soa?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
We got ourselves a tank. Nicely done, Adam. Thank you. Okay. Consent agenda?
Do I come up again for consent?
No, you're good.
They just need to do a motion.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Okay.
All right, to the management update.
Yep, please.
All right, so in your packet, agenda item 4, have a number of different things I just want to bring to your attention. One is the monthly update, which is in your packets. Nothing really in the anomaly, no anomalies really to report or anything like that. So the one thing I will note is there are a number of different projects that are listed on page 7 and 8, CIP projects. We've already kind of talked a little bit about the fact that there's a lot of work being conducted, and so you'll keep updating that as we move forward.
So how are we coming with the land for Redland? It was kind of a hiccup the last time we talked. Are we progressing on that, Adam? Or?
So I think for Redland, we're actually good.
Yeah, we,
Good.
Redland Reservoir?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We shifted the design
Yeah,
to make
right,
sure that
right.
it all fit within our property.
Right, okay.
Correct. Yeah,
And-
we did
and-
not presume.
And we already worked out the deal for the property on Romland.
That we're gonna talk to you about
Yeah,
in that
exactly.
future and exec session.
Exactly, okay. I was just kind of figuring out where we were with that, whether we were still hung up or not, so.
As far as the report, some intergovernmental relations items to note. The first item, she's still here, that's good. I wanted to point out, and this has probably been, I was trying to figure this out, and I bet you it's been about 20 years since a person from Clackamas Riverwater has served in the leadership position for the Pacific Northwest section of the American Water Works Association. And so I want to recognize the fact that our own Suzanne DiLorenzo was recently elected by the membership to serve as the Oregon Idaho trustee for that organization. So it's a 3-year, so it's a great kind of testament to kind of her recognition of her skills and service to the water sector. So thank you, Suzanne. She'll start her process at the conference in April that will be held in Tacoma. And so after that concludes, then she'll start her 3-year term. So great opportunity for Suzanne. I think it's a great opportunity for CRW. And so I'm very, very excited as we move forward, and congratulations.
Don't they put on inspector schools?
The American Water Works Association, I don't know about inspector schools. I haven't seen that, but
I
they
did
do
too.
a lot of
Sure.
training and.
They're developing a program.
Are they?
Yeah, it's, they're gonna talk about it more at the section conference this spring, but it's in process.
Oh, good.
Developing.
So we've already talked this evening a little bit about the Clackamas River water providers. I want to point out that in your folder, you should have a copy of the latest newsletter that they put out quarterly, so that information is in your packet. Moving on, kind of skipping down to, we'll go to the Clackamas Fire District 1. Adam Bjornstad and myself had an opportunity to present to the Fire District Board at their meeting in December. Presented information about the backbone, kind of the role of cooperation between fire service and water service, and how they do need us as part of that.
More than they know.
process.
Yes.
And so I thought it was good. I think we got some good questions from their board president, and I'm planning on meeting with Chief Charlton to kind of debrief later this month on that, and then talk about next steps as we move forward. Commissioner Kalani mentioned City of Milwaukee, so I'll skip down to that item. Just to let you know that City of Milwaukee has approached us as far as having a more in-depth discussion about these areas that we call the dual interest areas. These are areas where they're interested in serving it, we're interested in, we currently serve it. And so how do you look at those different areas? And so they provided us with some maps on what they're thinking. We're in the process of kind of reviewing that, having that discussion. So once we have further, I'll bring it back for a work session with the board, but at least I wanted you to be aware that those discussions are taking place. They've had a lot of changes, a lot of new faces over there, and so a lot of it is kind of relearning each other at this point. But I think overall, been positive discussions. You heard a lot on the finance aspect with the CAFR and what's taking place with the audit. I do want to, though, not belittle the fact that the Government Finance Officers Association has awarded CRW with a Distinguished Budget Presentation Award received for our biennial budget. You know, this is a document that I think we should be very proud of. I know we've received this in the past, but I don't want to, I want to make sure that we're acknowledging the fact that this doesn't come easily. So this is really, again, evidence of a lot of work by our staff here, and Carol as our CFO, and then other staff like Kathy and the rest of the finance and accounting staff that have done a lot of hard work in making sure that we have a document that's presentable to the public, and you know, thanks goes to our budget committee and the board in helping preparing that budget. So we did include as an attachment, GFOA does have a press release that we've included the copy of. Continuing on that theme, I do want to let the board know that we did have an opportunity to talk with Fitch Ratings, where they are one of the rating agencies that CRW met with prior to the bonds, receiving the revenue bonds. And so as part of that follow-up process, they indicated every couple of years they would check in with us. And so we had an opportunity to sit down with them over a conference call, and Carol had a chance to share with them updates and answer their questions as far as how we're doing. The good news is we had a real good story to tell as far as the progress we're making with respect to the bond proceeds, and we seem to be very pleased with how that went, and thought that all the questions were answered, and so again, appreciation for Carol's work on that as well. Let's see, as far as the emergency management, the only thing I'll add there is on our radio system development update. We're on track actually to probably power up the radio system tomorrow is what we're begin testing that next week. We have some borrowed temporary radios to play with, so thank you, Commissioner McNeil, for making that available, so we could kind of work with that. Also, just going to the next page, page 5, the safety update. Do want to make sure the board is aware that we did receive a $5,000 grants for implementing different safety improvements this last year at the Mexico. So that's always helpful to get those funds. And you know, one of the things I've wanted to encourage here at CRW is making sure that we're being thoughtful and routine as it relates to our safety improvements and training of staff. And so I think in the past I may have showed you the schedules that we've kind of laid out and targets of training for different staff. I want to just note that we're still on track. We continue to be on track with our monthly safety training schedule. So I know how to use the AED now, so you know, I've always had my first aid and AED stuff, but that was the most recent training that we've held. So
If it doesn't recommend a shock, what do you do?
if it doesn't recommend, you leave it alone. You don't tell it. I can't push the button no matter how much I may want to, huh?
They won't deliver the shock, but no, it's either way.
Won't deliver the shock.
Yeah.
And some items that are not on the agenda that I want to make you aware of, or that are not in the report, is first off, in your packets, we've already alluded to it a couple times, extensive copy that contains the Murray-Smith report, Joint Engineering Study report. And then the second tab is the FCS group technical memorandum outlining the remuneration policy that we wanted to look at.
So is FCS working for Murray Smith?
Yeah, they're part of that. There was a joint.
So that was my question, is why isn't one of the first bullets on here for the deliverables, the economic part? It's not in there.
It's rough.
No, it's not.
on the
I just-
feasibilities.
Nope, it doesn't say anything
On that
about
bullet, okay.
it. It's not there. So I'm wondering, are they getting the right picture here or not?
Well, you have both documents
Yeah,
before you.
that's why I was wondering if that's,
Yeah.
if they were working for Murray Smith.
Yeah, and so this is created as under the agreement that we have with Oregon City and this work reflects the work of Murray Smith that they have worked with staff from both CRW and Oregon City in the development of that document. The document contains information for you as policymakers and then us as staff at the district to use to kind of aid us in the future discussions. So it doesn't, it's not a end-all final, this is the plan, it's to provide you with some information. And so it provides some information as it relates to the future service areas of CRW and Oregon City to kind of give you some background and history there, the methodology for the reimbursement of assets that may be withdrawn that are either existing or maybe built in the future. That's that remuneration policy. And then opportunities to minimize redundancy in parallel facilities is another area. The report itself looks at 8 different study areas and provides some details regarding the existing conditions and the proposed solutions for each of these areas. Now, when we meet in our January work session, which we're going to talk about today here in a minute, will be dedicated to just discussing this report. So we'll try to make sure that there's plenty of time on that work session to do that. The consultant, Murray Smith, representatives from Murray Smith will be attending to review the document with you and to answer any questions. Between now and then, you have the report between now and that work session. We would ask that the commissioners or encourage the commissioners to review the report. If you have questions that come up that you want to discuss with staff ahead of time, please give me a call or Karen, and we can get something set up and scheduled so that we can coordinate that. For me, the goal of the work session in January will be to review the material, to answer your questions, and then to discuss kind of the next steps and your expectations as it relates to our coordination of water service for those different study areas. So Like I said, if you have questions along the way, please give us a holler, but we want to make sure that you have this document in plenty of time to really realize it's a little bit more meaty than a typical document, so. Yes, sir.
I've only read a couple of pages so far. It seems to be heavy duty into conflict between the CRW and the city. I haven't seen any resolution, but then I haven't
Yeah.
been through it.
Gotta get a little farther.
Yeah,
So
it
it'll-
goes a lot farther.
Yeah, so there's, for each of the different study areas, what I'm gonna do, I'll provide the background, and then it has actually a section that will talk about some possible resolutions, so. But again, it's information, so, and it's.
So we're going to eventually meet with, a joint meeting with the city and with the consultant?
That's
Is
something,
that-
so what I wanted to first meet is just us
Right.
with the consultants, so that you can just have that discussion with the consultant. Whether we have another meeting with the city or not, that's something we can discuss as the next steps. I don't think we've anticipated having a second meeting with the city.
Okay, that was, well, I was at the city hall and getting some other information, and Louis was there and asked me what my opinion was of that meeting we had during the summer.
I don't think anybody was excited about that meeting.
No. I
So
told
the
him
meeting
that
this
it was a
summer
crock.
wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and so I still think the way this was, my recollection was there would be a meeting with Oregon City, a meeting with us, and then a joint meeting.
Yeah, so that can be discussed as part of our next steps. Let's see, so speaking of work session, in your packet, it alludes to the fact that our next work session is scheduled for January 22nd. However, there's a couple things that might make it to our advantage to maybe postponing that until we'll want to propose the 30th. Because there's actually a conflict with another meeting that's going to be held that same evening. Is there any objections to rescheduling that work session, which we haven't noticed yet, from the 22nd to the 30th? That actually gives you more time to review things, so.
Yeah, 30th and 31st both work for me.
Okay, so Tuesday the 30th, so I know Tuesday the 30th works for the consultants,
Okay.
and I know that also works for Commissioner Anger, too.
Okay.
So,
The 30th works for me.
okay. So we will go ahead and notice that meeting for the 30th, so, and scratch the 22nd off your calendar.
Okay.
Let's see, a couple other things real quick, sorry, we're going longer here. Just the North Clackamas Chamber of Commerce, they're gonna be holding the State of the County Forum Luncheon on the end of the month, the 31st, and then there's also a State of the Cities Forum. If you're interested in attending, please let Karen know so we can get you registered for that. I will be attending, so be happy to sit, obviously we'll get a chance to sit together. And then also, Commissioner, at the last meeting, you had selected Commissioner Kalani to represent CRW at a meeting that Clackamas County was coordinating of all the different special districts in Clackamas County. So that meeting's been scheduled now for, January 17th. And the purpose of that meeting is to select a representative to the Metro's policy, which that's happening as well. Real quick, CRW will be closed on Monday in honor of Martin Luther King holiday. And then I will be out of the office Friday, tomorrow, and on the 12th. And so Rob will be filling in as my ASC. And then also on the 19th, 19th, I'll be out and Carol will be filling in in my absence. And then just a last minute reminder, if you are interested in attending the SDAO conference, please get that information to Karen. We're gonna have to release the rooms that we've tried to reserve, just to make sure you have room. And if those aren't needed, we will release those and move on. So, but if you can let us know by the 23rd, that would be really helpful. That concludes my report.
Questions?
I apologize, I do have one more thing.
Yeah.
So Commissioner So has left. He's indicated that he wishes to resign from the board. And so I just found this out right before the meeting. And so I'll be coordinating with him on that formal process, but he's indicated, at least the discussion he had with me is he feels that things are in place and his purpose for being on the board early on is no longer necessary, and he felt things was a good discussion, but he's indicated his interest in resigning from the board. So I'll work with Commissioner McNeil on that and on the process and how we move forward.
So if you know anybody, crank them up.
So that was the last little, truly last minute thing that I wrote, so that's it.
Oh, the last of that bunch.
Yeah, that's it. You can't leave though. You're up.
All right, that's it.
Anybody have anything? You?
No, fine.
Okay.
We're adjourned.